Hello everyone, I hope that you're doing very well. I am back again with a new video. I know that I didn't manage to get one out last week, and so I tried to make this week's a little bit longer. I filmed this painting session before I left for holiday in France, as I said in the previous video, I think, or if you follow me on Instagram you might have seen some pictures that I posted about it. But I filmed this before leaving, and then the plan for this week's video was actually to put together a vlog with a whole bunch of paintings that I have done recently and the footage that I filmed in France. But, you know, life happened. I got the vaccine last week. I also managed to get my driving license finally. So it was quite a busy week, and editing and filming kind of was put on the back burner for a while. So I thought I would just turn this painting session, since it wasn't particularly long, I thought I would edit it into like a real-time paint with me type video. I don't really know how to describe it, and then just record a voiceover and chat about it. So I hope you enjoy this format. I haven't done this in quite a while, but I personally really like, I don't know if you know who Minnie's Moore is, but she does kind of, I think it's 1 hour real-time painting sessions where she just paints for an hour in the studio and chats about what she's doing. Sometimes she is talking while painting, and sometimes she records a voiceover for it. And I really like those videos. I think they're great company for painting together, or just, you know, if you want to put on the in the background while you're doing some more mechanical type of work where you don't really have to think about it too much. I think it's really nice. I literally watched one of them yesterday, I think. So I thought I would give it a go. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And if you like it, then obviously I can continue making these. It was actually quite nice to edit. It wasn't too much work, but I think the video in overall turned out quite nice. So I'm just going to ramble on a bit about what I'm painting and everything. This is actually a reference photo that I took in my boyfriend's garden. He just has like this massive flower plant that I really liked, and I just took a picture of it and I thought I would paint it. I don't know if you can see it very well in the video, but I drew a grid in a certain part of the picture because I printed out the whole picture, and then I decided that I only wanted to paint a certain part of it where the flower is, and so I just drew the grid over there. Nothing measured. It was very just, you know, by eye. Hopefully it's kind of even. And then I did the same thing with acrylic paint for the underpainting. It's been a long time since I've done a sketch with paint. What I normally do is I do my sketch with pencil first, and then I go over it with a burnt sienna type color for the underpainting. This time I thought I would try out something that I know a lot of artists do, which is to sketch straight with paint. So I decided to grid, which I don't normally do. I am not a big fan of that method. I normally just prefer to freehand things, but since I like drawing with paint is not something that I'm super experienced with, I thought this would be helpful, and it was. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. So I just drew the grid with watered down acrylic paint, and then I used the same acrylic paint to draw the flower and kind of a bit of the surroundings. And I actually think it was very helpful. I think I'm going to continue doing this because a lot of the time when you do a sketch with pencil and then go over it with the underpainting, the feeling of that sketch, like the first impression that you get while you sketch something, I feel like it's much more lively than what you end up with once you've gone over it with the first layer of paint. I don't know if I've explained this very well, but I feel like with this painting, doing an underpainting and a drawing straight with paint instead of pencil and then covering it up, even when I went over it with oil paint later, it maintained a more dynamic and lively look. I don't really know how to explain it, but I was really happy with this. So I think I'm going to continue experimenting with it in future pieces as well. And obviously this was just a sketch, but it was very helpful in learning more about oil paint. I've been trying to observe what other artists do. In particular, I mentioned her in pretty much every one of my videos at this point, but if you know Jimena, she's a wonderful artist. I really, really admire her work, and I love the way she paints. And I support her on Patreon, and she oftentimes posts this kind of video, so this more real-time oil study kind of thing, where you can really see every single brush stroke that she's putting down, and I find that very interesting. It allows me to study someone else's work in detail and understand sort of what goes through their mind while they're painting, and then I can apply it more easily within my own paintings. I don't mind time lapses, especially for larger pieces. Obviously, it's a really good way to condense a lot of work in a relatively short video, but I find that they're not as interesting, technically speaking, for me as an artist trying to learn a new medium. So I thought I would, kind of start studying painting again more in that way, and it's been really helpful for me, so I'm very happy that I've been doing that, and I'm actually really happy with how this painting turned out. If I wanted to, I could go over it with another layer and add more detail, more highlights and stuff, but I've really been trying to work on capturing the essence of the piece within as few brush strokes as I can, and as broad as I can, like just trying to put down the main blocks of color without worrying too much about detail, without worrying about, like specific things. You will see later on in the video that, like, for example, the background is very random, like it's not detailed at all. I just put down a layer of paint trying to capture more the value, and not really worrying about subtle differences and stuff, whilst I focused a bit more on the flower, which was the centerpiece. But then again, I wasn't really putting down like really tiny brush strokes with color. I could do that for like a more finished piece, but I was more interested in seeing what I could achieve as quickly as possible. Like if I could try to capture my impressions with my color mixing and my perception of value and stuff. It was more an exercise regarding that. I don't know if I've explained this very well, but I hope you could understand the gist of it. I think the only thing that I kind of regretted not doing in this case was filming the actual painting palette, because I think it would have been very interesting to look back at, for me as well, but also for you, to see when I was mixing the paint as well. In this video, I've sort of cut out most of the pauses that I had where I wasn't painting, I was just mixing colors. So just because that would have been like probably another 10 minutes of nothing. But it would have been very interesting to keep it in and layer it with the palette and the color mixing on the side. Again, for the more like studying aspect of things, this is something that Jimena does in her videos and that I really like, but I didn't think I was going to turn this into a real-time paint with me type thing, and so I didn't film it. Whatever, it's going to be for next time, but that's definitely something that I need to remember to do, because I personally really like it. Also, I find it very satisfying, and it's interesting because when you're watching someone else paint, oftentimes you're like, why are they so slow? Why are they taking so much time to mix that color and to change it very subtly, like 20 different times before actually putting it on the painting? And then when you look back at yourself painting, you realize that you're doing the exact same thing, or at least for me, it's like that, because I just get in a painting zone, in a painting mood, where I really find you lose track of time. At a certain point, you're just focusing on mixing the right colors with the right tones and values, and it becomes really easy, and you don't really realize how much time you're spending mixing that one single shade. So that's also another reason why I really like filming myself paint and looking back at it. I've always found it very interesting. and you know, I hope you do too. I personally really like watching this sort of video from other people. I feel like, as I said, it's very important and very educational, and it teaches you a lot if you're willing to actually watch it. A lot of the time I put painting videos in the background just to listen to what people have to say. And I know that loads of people do that with my vlogs as well. And I personally love doing that with vlogs from other people. I love watching painting vlogs and like art studio vlogs. That sort of thing is probably my favorite kind of video ever. But when it comes to more paint with me type videos, I really like actually taking the time to watch them. Like, I'll make myself a cup of tea and sit down on the sofa and watch someone paint and be like, oh, that's really cool what they're doing here, I should try it in my painting, and then I'll write it down. I don't know if I'm the only one who does it, but I find it very interesting. Also, something sort of random that I haven't mentioned yet is that I was kind of struggling to mix the pink. And you can see that the pink is not maybe as bright as it looks like in the picture, because I'm a bit of an idiot. When I bought my painting set, I picked every single color. I didn't buy an actual set, and I thought I'd gotten a red, which turned out to be like a dark pink, sort of fuchsia type color. So it's really hard to mix reddish toned things. I finally bought one this week and I did one painting with it, and it's so much easier to mix this sort of color. But at this point, this is the time when I realized that I really needed a red, because I've sort of noticed it in other paintings as well, and then I've always just been able to mix the color anyways, and I've been like, you know, maybe I don't really need it. Well, you do, yes. Spoiler alert. Especially because I tend to paint with my paintings tend to have quite warm tones, and a lot of people have said this to me, and that is something that they like about my paintings, and that's personally a look that I prefer. But doing that without a red, I didn't think it was going to be that important. Especially because I've always painted with a bit of a weird palette, with acrylics as well. I do have I think it's the same red that I got now for oils as well, but I never had like a standard green or a standard yellow or a standard blue. I've just always used the colors that I liked, and I liked how the colors that I mixed using those were a bit more personal. They were not like the same standard ones that other people were using, and I feel like that gave my pieces a more personal touch and a more distinct look as well. But red is a very important color in my pieces. Maybe it's not important in the sense that I put it straight in the painting, but I mix it in a lot, and I didn't really realize it until this point when I found myself having a weird red that was sort of making every other color that I mixed really weird. Something I noticed is that I bought a lot more colors for oils than I normally use for acrylics, because I was recommended that. And I find myself using pretty much all of them, except from the green. I don't particularly like the green that I have because it's a very blue toned green. And I don't like cool tones in my paintings generally, even for like blues and greens and stuff. I tend to try to make them as warm as possible before putting them down on the painting. That's just, you know, the look that I like going for. But for the most part, I really do find myself dipping into all of them, especially the yellows. I have two different yellows. One is yellow ochre, and the other one I think is a light cadmium yellow or something like that. And I've normally always just used yellow ochre with my acrylics painting. I also had a cadmium yellow, but I very, very rarely used it. But especially mixed with the white that I have with acrylics, it just looked really weird. But with oils, I usually finish both of them by the end of the painting. I don't know why that happens, but it's quite interesting to notice that kind of stuff. Or at least for me it is. But yeah, we're getting towards the end of the video. It was quite a rambly one, so hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more of these, please let me know in the comments. I'd be very happy to make more. And for now, I'm going to wish you a lovely week, and I will see you hopefully next week with a new one. Bye!